Our Earth is warming from North Pole to South Pole. The effects of global warming are not going to appear in a faraway future, but they are happening right now. Climate change includes not only rising average temperatures, but also extreme weather events, shifting wildlife populations and habitats, melting ice, rising seas, and a range of other impacts. Students of MatriKiran would like to share their thoughts on climate change, its impact, and ways to mitigate this serious threat.
Climate is the average weather condition of a place calculated over a period of 25 to 30 years. Since many years, we have been noticing climate change on Earth. Climate change refers to a significant change in the climatic conditions of a place over an extended period of time. In other words, climate change is a major change in the wind patterns, temperature, precipitation of a place. Climate change is badly affecting the lives of animals, especially those who live in the polar region. The rapid melting of ice leads to loss of habitat for animals such as penguins, polar bears, and seals, etc. Not only in the polar region, but the temperature of whole world is increasing. This leads to forest fires in many countries like Australia, Brazil, and so on. This leads to loss of habitat for animals living in forests also. There are some factors that affect climate change. The first factor is greenhouse effect. Greenhouse effect is the process of trapping sun's heat close to the surface of Earth by gases known as greenhouse gases. When gases such as methane, carbon dioxide, carbon monoxide are released into the atmosphere, they trap sun's heat, hence increasing the temperature. The second factor is pollution. Burning of materials such as coal, wood, plastic causes air pollution and releases gases such as carbon dioxide, sulfur dioxide into the atmosphere, which not only increase the temperature but also cause acid rain.
In some ways, the lockdown undertaken to stop COVID-19 have fast forwarded us into an unlikely future. One with almost impossibly bold climate action taken all at once, no matter the cost. Just months ago, it would have been thought impossible to close polluting factories virtually overnight and slash emissions from travel by keeping billions at home. Now we know that the clear skies and silent streets can come about shocking speed. The pandemic is a cataclysmic event so big and disruptive that it can be measured in the planetary matrix of climate change. As many as 2.6 billion metric tons of carbon dioxide emissions, about 8% of the estimated total of the year, will never be emitted into the atmosphere, according to the estimates by the International Energy Agency. Pick any world-shaking event from the 20th century history, none has produced a bigger decrease in emissions. Power plants responded to the lockdowns almost immediately, to the point that it's been possible to trace the spread of the virus from the Chinese province of Hubei to Central Asia Europe and US just by looking at the grid activity. A pickup in power in Dubai in recent weeks is an indication that activity there has resumed after the lockdown ended. To see Europe's emergence from the lockdowns, simply note the recently shrinking gap between the energy demand this year and last. 42% drop in power demand in Dubai, China. 59% less traffic congestions in Mumbai, India. 28% less traffic congestions in London, UK. Do you see how lockdown has affected us?
As motorways cleared and factories closed, dirty brown pollution belts stunk over cities and industrial centers, country after country within few days of lockdown. Many countries are experiencing temporary falls in carbon dioxide and nitrogen dioxide levels as much as 40%, greatly improving the air quality and reducing the risks of asthma, lung disease, and heart attacks. It's possible to have a better environment, and the lockdown has shown us how. There is a drastic improvement in the water of the Yamuna after the lockdown. As per the Delhi Pollution Control Board, the water at several places of the Yamuna is now fit for bathing. As per the DPCC, there is 4 times more water in the river today than in April last year. Due to no extraction of fresh water from the rivers for production needs, as the industries were shut down. Similarly, due to the lockdown and it not being the sowing month, extraction of river water for irrigation has also been at its lowest. Short-term air pollution, which lasts only for a few hours or a day in the atmosphere, has dropped, and that is considered as positive news. The COVID-19 lockdown is an eye-opener on several accounts. It has taught us how to reduce pollution, traffic congestion, and eco-degradation.
Food is a basic human need, and a healthy diet is an essential component of our health and well-being. Before the food ends up on our plates, it is produced, stored, processed, packaged, transported, prepared, and served. Each of these steps give rise to greenhouse gas emissions into the atmosphere. In particular, livestock causes the emission of methane and nitrogen oxide, two powerful greenhouse gases, as a result of enteric fermentation. Enteric fermentation is a digestive process in which carbohydrates are broken down into simpler compounds by microorganisms. Farmers choose crop varieties and animal breeds that are well suited to their local conditions. But as those local conditions shift rapidly over the coming decades, many farmers will be forced to rethink some of their choices, which means making new capital investments and learning new practices. Climate smart agriculture, whose objectives are to provide solutions to transform or reorient agriculture systems to support food security on a changing planet. CSA, in short, aims to strengthen the agricultural systems while assisting the farmers in reducing or removing greenhouse gas emissions wherever possible. Recent studies have shown that one-third of yield variability is related to climate variability. The pie chart represents the key components of climate smart village that are dependent on region and relevance. Farmers across the globe are bearing the impact of climate change. Addressing these challenges in vulnerable regions are very urgent. The climate change strikes the earth, which results in increase in temperature and precipitation. However, the agricultural industry also contributes to climate change, mostly owing to greenhouse gas emissions. Consequently, mitigation and adaptation approaches have to be taken in order to deal with this problem.
In the past few years, many kids avoided school to promote awareness amongst people about how the climate is changing drastically and may result as the end of life existence on Earth. We can take a few examples like Greta Thunberg, Ridhima Pandey, Zia Bastida, and Isra Hirsi. Greta Thunberg is a Swedish climate activist and is the founder of School Strike for Climate. She began her protests outside the Swedish parliament, vowing not to stop until they met the carbon emissions agreed by world leaders in Paris in 2015. Ridhima Pandey's interest in climate change arose when she witnessed the Uttarakhand floods in 2013. In 2017, she filed a lawsuit against the Indian government for their inaction towards climate change. Zia Bastida is a climate activist and is also one of the major organizers of Fridays for Future in New York. She began her protests with an environmental club that protested at Albany and New York City Hall. Isra Hirsi is an environmental activist who also co-founded and serves as the executive director of US Youth Climate Strike. At the age of 12, she was one of the participants protesting for justice for Jamar Clark at the Mall of America. Ways to prevent climate change. Power your house with renewable energy. If you wish to show your concern about climate change, then the very first place you can bring a change to in your neighborhood is your home. It is your home, so you have the right to bring a change, but healthily. Energy efficient appliances have kept 2.3 billion tons of carbon dioxide out of the air. When shopping for electrical appliances, look out for the ones with an Energy Star label. Reduce water waste. When saving water, it also reduces carbon pollution as it requires a lot of energy to pump, heat, and then supply us with water. Buy better bulbs. LED light bulbs use up to 80% lesser energy as compared to conventional incandescents and are also cheaper. Rethink planes, trains, and automobiles. Living in a walkable environment leads to less pollution, less driving, and less money spent on fuel. Air transport is one of the major causes for air pollution, so it is better to take a train instead if possible.
With renewable energy technologies, changes in farming and transport, and mindful use of resources by everyone, we can limit global warming and avoid worse outcomes. As Ian Cameron Williams says, the greatest gift this generation can give to the future generations is a healthy planet.